Yes, you do.
Okay. Good evening. The time is 7:30, and I'd like to call to order the April 22nd meeting of the Norwalk Common Council. If you'll please rise and join me in pledging allegiance to our flag, and please remain standing for a moment. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As you all know, the Pope Francis has passed away, and I'd like to just honor him with a moment of silence for the council. Yes. Thank you. He was a great spiritual leader. Lord, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Burnett,
Present.
Mr. Goldstein,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Present.
Ms. Najolski Eichner,
Present.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Ayers,
Present.
Mr. Seed,
Present.
Mr. Wiggins,
Here.
Ms. Young,
Here.
Ms. Edie,
Here.
Ms. Wennerstrand, here, Ms. Dunn, here, Mr. Sutton,
Present.
Mr. Frere, Ms. Shanahan, here,
I think Nicole there is here as well.
She is.
Mr. Frere. We have 14 in attendance. We have a
14
quorum.
present, we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda, acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 8th, 2025. Ms. Shanahan, you make the motion. Are there any corrections, deletions, or omissions?
I have one,
Ms. Najolski Eichner.
yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, on page 8 of the minutes, in relation to Ms. Sawyer, I did not serve with her on the Board of Ethics. I spoke to her about her work on the board, or her interest in the Board of Ethics, and supported her reappointment.
Thank you. Any other corrections? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as corrected? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We now have public participation.
Mr. Mayor, I'm abstaining.
Oh, you're abstaining,
Mr. Wiggins.
okay. Mr.
Nicole
Mr.
is
Wiggins
also
is abstaining.
I think Ms. Ayers is as well.
I'm sorry?
I think Ms. Ayers is abstaining.
Oh, Ms. Ayers is abstaining also, okay. So Mr. Wiggins and Ms. Ayers have abstained. Okay, and now it's public participation. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the council? Mr. Bonifant?
Hi, Rich Bonifant, 17 Park Hill Avenue. I'll be brief on a couple of things. Mostly I came in person because Doug Sutton asked me for some copies of the council portrait. And if anybody else wants one, I'll just print them up. It's all I gotta do is push the button, and I'll be glad to give anybody who's in that picture one. Just a couple items that I noticed on, there's an appointment for a Norwalk Commission on Gender Equity. I didn't even know we had that. I thought there was only 2 genders, but I guess, maybe I'm not up with it. Under ordinance number 1, the changes to the parking authority, I read through that and I couldn't actually figure it out. Is the parking authority going to be able to go all around town and give out tickets and keep their own money? And I don't know, that's the way I looked at it. Okay, so they can go anywhere in Norwalk, give out tickets and keep that money. Okay, good luck. The one reason, the main reason why I came by, I want to speak on the Parks and Rec thing with the item number 7 with the Black Heritage Parade. Well, the 3 days of loud music and loud speeches. I'm just looking out for the people in East Norwalk. They take a pounding for a lot of different events, and this is going to be 3 days of loud music and speeches over the microphones. So if the main objective is to raise money to have a parade, Why don't you just give them the parade and tell them to find money? Like, you know, through donations and benevolent means. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonaparte. Is there anybody online that wishes to address the council?
Diane Cece.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I'm Diane Cece, East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. I'll try to be brief as well. I'm also hopping on tonight to speak to the Recreation and Parks agenda item. I think it's number 7, the Black Heritage Parade cultural carnival event in Veterans Memorial Park. Some of the council members who are here tonight will recall that I also appeared at the Recreation and Parks Committee meeting. I did so for the purpose of actually asking for this item to be tabled because I thought it wasn't quite ready for prime time, as we say. There were a number of questions that I had, and I would say also that some of the council members had as well regarding this event. And I thought it best at that time to table it and get some answers. However, that didn't happen, but what did happen is that it was approved to move forward for your the full council consideration, but it was done so with the expectation that the actual application was going to be updated to address some of the concerns that I raised and some council folks raised and other members of the public raised. And so I was a little surprised today. Excuse me, I have either allergies or a cold. I'm sorry for sounding weird. I was surprised today when I opened the council agenda to see that the item that's in your packet tonight, I can't see anything that's any different than the packet that was presented at the Recreation and Parks Committee. And so it seemed that the questions that I and other members of the public had, and perhaps some council people, didn't get addressed or were ignored. And so the application doesn't address any of the concerns. For example, we recognize that this, for all intent and purposes, is an inaugural event for this organizer, so it's hard to estimate things. But one of the things we were concerned with is the estimate for just 250 people a day at this event. It doesn't seem to have any basis in a calculation that we can find. The hours are not accurate as presented at the committee meeting, and those haven't been updated. And another major concern we have is that this was presented to the committee identifying themselves as a nonprofit. The organization that's listed is not a nonprofit, and they haven't since come back to identify who the nonprofit is for this application. And I just do want to say that I did speak with the organizer after the fact in the interest of reaching out to try to express some concerns and come to some agreement on how this could be improved and not to be really an impediment to the neighborhood, because this is a 3-day event, by the way, another 3-day event in a residential neighborhood.
You're at 3 minutes.
So we are hoping that she will address our concerns regarding amplified music, to keep that to a minimum and point it away from the residents. Also to control lighting and any other noise, etc. But hey, thank you. My time is probably up, but I guess my comments really are more towards the process on this thing and just being disappointed now that you have an item before you that seems to have come from the committee and nothing be addressed.
Thank you, Ms. Cece. Thank you, Ms. Cece. Anybody else? Okay, so we will close public participation. Next, we have resignations and appointments. Item number 401A. We have Kim Squires, Norwalk Commission on Gender Equality. Equity.
I'll do it. I'm very excited that one of our newer residents, a very lovely young lady named Kim Squires, I actually met her at a Working Families Party meeting, get together at Eco Evolution. And she came up and she said, I really want to get involved. How do I get involved? So it's really exciting that there is a space for someone who's enthusiastic, and she was very kind, and very impressive. And excited to be living in Norwalk now, and we need as many people as we can to get involved. She does production. She's done some interesting documentaries that I got to watch. It's really interesting. So I think she's a really good addition to this city, and I think the people on the committee will really enjoy having her there.
Thank you. Further comments or discussions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Under remarks, I just have a few. I hope everybody celebrated Easter and Passover, had a wonderful holiday this past weekend. The weather was great. Today, obviously, is Earth Day, and the city continues to work towards making, and bear with me, I didn't bring my glasses. Committed to working towards making the community a more sustainable place for our residents and future generations. This Sunday, April 26th, starting at 11 a.m., rain or shine, Norwalk's this Saturday, April 26th, starting at 11 a.m., Norwalk's 4th Annual Earth Day Festival on the Green. I want to thank Melissa Murray, former council member, for really stepping up and moving forward with this. She's done a great job in the past years, and we really appreciate it. Getting to the green without a machine. I'm sorry. There are several events being organized by the Bike Walk Commission, encouraging folks to get to the green without a machine to avoid driving and emitting CO2 emissions. Mayor's Ball, I'm very pleased to say that I don't have to read this. I know this one. Very pleased to say that yesterday and thank you all to who came and contributed this. I want to thank Irene and her team for making it happen. They did a great job, and we were able to give checks to Salvation Army, Family and Children's Agency, the highest amount we've given out yet, $30,000 each.
Well,
We also have a unanticipated donation to person, as you know, the things that they do for the city of Norwalk, another $5,000. And there's they don't know it yet, a secret organization that's going to get another $5,000. I won't announce who they are because it's still a secret. And so $70,000, $70,000. I'm sorry, $70,000 given to local nonprofits, and I think it was really great. Probably the biggest mayor's ball we've ever had. The grand list, finally. Many of you have probably read the Hour story yesterday, that said the Norwalk grand list went down by $1.6 billion. I don't know where they got that. It was wrong. We've asked them to correct it. We've sent them messages, emails asking them to correct it, and they're looking at it. We actually increased our grand list by $880 million. So whatever you saw in the Hour was not accurate, and we're trying to correct that. So again, thank you. And now I will turn it over to the council president, Ms. Smith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I will be turning the consent calendar right over to Councilmember Ayers for the reading tonight.
Thank you, Madam President. 7A, Finance and Claims Committee. 1, approve fiscal year 2025-2026 Parking Authority budget. 2, approve fiscal year 2025-2026 Water Pollution Control Authority budget. 3, narrative on tax collection date April 2025. 4, monthly tax collectors reports dated March 2025. 5, claims committee report dated April 2025. 6, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Reilly, to execute a contract with CLA Clifton Larson Allen LLP to perform the city's annual fiscal statement audit for the 5-year period fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029 for an amount not to exceed $637,000. Account number noted, accounting in 015725160330-57 BOE other professional services. 7B ordinance. 1. Approve changes to Charter 73A Parking Authority Section 73A-1 through 73A-9. 7C, Recreation, Parks, and Cultural Affairs. 1. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Relling, to enter into a contract with Sports Tech Constructive Corp. for an amount not to exceed $112,920 for a project number 4430 Calf Pasture Basketball Court renovation for account noted. 2. Authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to issue change orders to Sports Tech Construction Corp. in amount not to exceed $24,000 for project number 4430 Calf Pasture Basketball Court renovation for an amount and an account noted. Account number noted. 3. Four. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to enter into an agreement for the use of Oyster Shell Park and immediate surrounding grounds by Nice Inc. for their Nice Festival to be held on Saturday, October 4th, 2025, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Set up time by 6 a.m. Friday, October 3rd, with tear down by 8 p.m. Sunday, October 5th. Approximately 500 people. 5. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to enter into an agreement for the use of Math Park and immediate surrounding areas by Lockwood Matthews Mansion for their 18th annual Old Fashioned Flea Market to be held on Sunday, September 14, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Setup time 7 a.m. with tear down by 10 p.m. Approximately 2,500 people. 6. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to enter into an agreement for the use of Oyster Shell Park, Veterans Park, and immediate surrounding grounds by Jim Gurrick for the O'Neill's 5K to be held on Sunday, June 1st from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Approximately 500 people. 7. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to enter into an agreement for the use of Veterans Park and immediate surrounding grounds by Sono Entertainment for their Black Heritage Parade fundraiser carnival to be held on February 20th, Saturday, June 21st, and Sunday, June 22nd, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Setup time by 5 a.m. Wednesday, June 18th, with tear down by 12 p.m. Tuesday, June 24th. Approximately 250 people. 7D, Economic and Community Development. 1. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to execute a temporary license and access agreement with the state of Connecticut Judicial Branch for the use of a portion of their parking lot located at 17 Belden Avenue to store materials that will be used for the construction of Phase 1 of the Wall Street Corridor project. 7E, Land Use and Building Management. 1. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to enter into an agreement to lease approximate 1,300 square feet of space of the South Norwalk train station inbound side to Andre Haratora. I'm killing that name. I'm sorry. Taco Please LLC for a term of 5 years with 2 lease options to extend the term for the consecutive 5-year period each. Rent to be negotiated and approved by the Norwalk Parking Authority. 7F, Public Works. 1. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to execute an agreement between the City of Norwalk and AKRF Inc. for the sidewalk design for Austin Street and Laura Street corridor drainage change order design project for a sum not to exceed $38,000. Account noted. 2. authorize the Director of Transportation, Mobility, and Parking to execute orders on the contract with AKRF Inc. for the sidewalk design for Austin Street and Laurel Street corridor drainage change order design project for a sum not to exceed $3,800. Count noted. Into consent calendar, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ayers. You have heard the consent calendar. I do just want to make one little notation that in item 7 under Recreation and Parks, it's 8 a.m. I think it was maybe a little hard to read. I don't think that Ms. Ayers meant 5 a.m. They're not going to be out there at 5 a.m. So
My apologies. Sorry.
no problem. No problem. So just want to make that note. And so I will call the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? The consent calendar passes unanimously. And I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Now that brings us to item 7B2. Ms. Shannon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move item number 2, approve changes to chapter 94, solid waste collection and disposal, transfer station and yard waste site. And we have Ms. Valadares, good, she's moved over to a panelist, which I was a little worried about. She's there though. She is going to give a little explanation as to what changes we're making and why.
Thank you. Ms.
Good evening,
Valadares.
everyone. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
Vanessa Valadares, Chief of Operations and Public Works. The change on the ordinance 94.3 is really a reflect of what the new contract with our new vendor starting on July 1st will be. As you guys remember, at the end of the year, we did a presentation for the council with New Gen, our consultant, that helped us create our plan and help us put a bid out. And we got Win Waste as the company that will have the contract for the next 7 years. One of the things that we identified before we put the bid was to do a few changes in the way that we do collection, so we could be more financial, cautious, and efficient with the collection system throughout the 4th taxing district. So one thing that it is, what we did on the ordinance, we update the terms and the definitions of what the industry have been using as recyclable, solid waste, yard waste, and all that. And 2 things that I want to point out that is really the major changes that we are doing is that the first one is that there will be no more opt-out if you are within the 4th taxing district. So if you're within the 4th taxing district, you're going to receive collection and you do not have the option to not receive. Before, what we noticed was that a lot of people opted out. They ended up selling the houses. We have on the record that they were not a pickup for tax purpose, but when the trash was out, the trucks were collecting those bins. So just to avoid the confusion, we're not going to make that as an opt-out option anymore. Another thing that we are doing is that we're going to make us standardize the solid waste bin. So the same way that we have the blue bin, the recycle bin, now we're going to be delivering a black and red solid waste bin, and we are only going to be collecting within the 4th taxing district the garbage that will be allocated inside that bin. Actually doing that help us really save money on the collection, because the vendor will be able to use now automated trucks to pick up those bins. So we're going to be starting a lot of public outreach in the next few weeks. Actually, this weekend already on Earth Day, we're going to have Win Waste there with the new bin. We're going to have a lot of flyers to show to the public that shows up. But the goal is that within second week of May, we're going to be really sending all the information out for the 4th taxing district, and we should be also distributing the new bins soon. So because of all that, this is really the major points that we did on the ordinance. There is also one more thing that we did, is that we only do collection on residential properties, and we are using the same definition as the planning and zoning. So we're only going to be collecting on 4 units or less. If you are more than a 4 unit, apartment, you're not going to receive collection anymore because that is considered commercial. So, Mr. Shanahan, I believe that these are really the high points of the ordinance, and I want to also thank you, Ms. Shanahan, Mr. Goldstein, and also Mr. Tom Livingston, and again, my staff, Tom Zabe and Chris Tor, because it was a lot of team efforts to be able to do those changes in the ordinance.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Vanessa, for working with us so quickly. We really needed to move fast in order to make sure that the contract date of July 1st was met. So this was a quick errand, and we did a good job, if I say so. So,
Any
especially
questions or
because Vanessa did most of the work.
Questions or comments? Ms. Smith?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Vanessa, could you just explain that part a little bit where, you know, the 4 units will they'll move to commercial, so they'll have commercial pickup? Could you just explain that a little more clearly?
Sure. So the city only provide collection to residential properties. And it has been a little bit of a confusion. What is a residential property? Of course, if you have a one family home, it's very easy to define. If you're within the 4th taxing district, you're going to receive collection. The problem is that we have some units that now became 4 or 5 units apartment. So if you're only 4 units, you're going to still be receiving collection through the city. That's how it shows on as a taxpayer that you still consider a residence, and we're not going to change. Now, if you're more than 5 units, we're going to stop the collection there, as well as commercial. So if you have a barber shop, you're not going to be receiving collection. And you have 2 options. You can either bring your garbage to our transfer station, or you can hire a private hauler.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Further comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions?
Nicole.
I'm sorry?
I think your hand was just up for.
I think it's just for
Okay.
favor. Okay.
I was voting for. I have a delay on this end. I'm sorry.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Vanessa.
That brings us to 7C3, Ms. Young.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Adopt the tree master plan for the city of Norwalk dated April 2025. And so before we have the presentation tonight, Ms. Sarah Cruz, the city's arborist and horticulturist, will present the tree master plan that we've been working on for some time. This undertaking was a cooperative effort among city departments that included, of course, the Recreation and Parks Department, under the leadership of Robert Stowers and Ken Hughes, who's also the superintendent of Parks and Public Spaces, the tree warden for DPW, Chris Torrey, Alex Chirichetti, conservation officer with the Planning and Zoning Department, and Garrett Olela, transportation and mobility. And so that's just a short list, but this included so many other people and including the community's input in this process. In addition to that, we had other community stakeholders like the Norwalk Tree Alliance, the Norwalk Watershed Association, the Norwalk Land Trust, and input again from the community at large. And this master plan was facilitated by the consultants that they chose with Planet Geo, which I think did an outstanding job gathering all of this information. One of the things that I kind of take away as we're reading through this, this process is that this plan strategy really provides a roadmap for us as a city to make the vision a reality in 30 years of increasing our tree canopy across the city. And it identifies and prioritizes communities as well. And it's no surprise that the urban neighborhoods like South Norwalk and going into other areas where they call Hospital Hill and the more urban cores are have a deficit of tree canopies. And that really needs to be our focus as we move along. And there are other areas that were identified. But I am happy that this plan is really has a 0 to 10-year focus on those areas. And it's a doable and achievable plan. And I think we've started that process with our urban forestry on Meadow Street. And so I'm very pleased that we have that project as well as a beacon, as a starting point. And I'm looking to Ms. Shanahan because she is a part of those alliances and is a staunch advocate for that. And so I bring up Ms. Sarah Cruz to just kind of go through this along with Mr. Stowers. Thank you.
Tonight, we're proud to present this master plan. It's very important to the city, but also it's an achievement for me too, because when I came here, we started the park master plan, which also called for more emphasis on trees. And so this is the second master plan that the parks have led out on. And as Miss Darlene Young said, many departments were involved from the beginning. It started out with the community development department, which then looked to parks to carry it the rest of the way. The RFP was let, and Planet Geo was selected. A very competitive process, and just the committee was chosen then, and the committee saw the need for someone to kind of lead it forward. And at that time, we were also passing legislation on a lot of green emphasis, pesticide ordinance, and we were looking to be a more green city. And so we put forth to the mayor the request to hire a horticultural arborist to help us with some of this greenery with our turfs and our parks and our fields. But the emphasis has been on trees. And so Sarah's going to give way to her to lead us into this briefing. We have the consultant, Planet Geo, here to lead the briefing, but I'm going to turn it over to Sarah Cruz, who's done a marvelous job. Since she's been
here. Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. I'm Sarah Cruz, the city's arborist and horticulturist. And I want to say it's very fitting that we're bringing the tree master plan to you all on Earth Day. I hope it, goes in our favor. But this plan represents an important step forward for Norwalk, and we're hopeful that it will have long-lasting positive impacts on both our community and our environment. Trees are essential public infrastructure, filtering our air and water, cooling neighborhoods, supporting wildlife, and managing stormwater. And tree canopy is also an equity issue. Data consistently shows that communities with more trees experience better health outcomes, lower energy costs, and improved mental health, especially in areas facing more vulnerable climate impacts. Recognizing that trees are essential to public health, equity, and environmental resilience, the city developed this tree master plan as a proactive strategy to fulfill our responsibility to both people and the planet. So this plan was built with input from community members, staff from nearly every department, thank you, and industry experts. And it provides a clear framework for how we can protect, maintain, and grow Norwalk's tree canopy in a strategic, equitable, and sustainable way. This plan centers on 3 primary goals: growing, caring, and connecting. We aim to increase Norwalk's tree canopy by 10% by 2053, take a more proactive approach to tree maintenance to reduce risk and preserve tree health, and also strengthen community engagement to build long-lasting support and stewardship with our community members. I want to be clear that implementation is just as important as development, and that the tree master plan will require ongoing support and collaboration in order to bring the plan to life. But aside from that, it's been my pleasure working on this project and the opportunity to collaborate with the various stakeholders across Norwalk who are very deeply passionate about our trees and our green spaces. And with that, I'd like to introduce our consultant, Chris Pfeiffer from Planet Geo, and he will walk you through the key components of the plan. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Chris Piper here with Planet Geo. And Robert and Sarah gave a great overview of this presentation, this really brief rundown of the Tree Master Plan project tonight. And I just want to start off by saying thank you to the mayor, the council members, and the city's project team for this opportunity. And it's so fitting that, you know, we are presenting the draft and the Tree Master Plan to you all today on Earth Day. And I'm fortunate to be here with you this evening. So thank you for that. And like I said, this will be a brief overview, and I'll get right into the presentation. And so just so you all are familiar with speaking this evening, Chris Piper, I'm the Director of Urban Forestry Strategy. And at Planet Geo, we provide a full suite of services and software to help cities manage their urban forests. And as Robert said, there was a request for proposal to complete multiple components of this Tree Master Plan project, beginning with a top-down look at canopy cover across all public and private boundaries, a bottom-up sample inventory of public trees, the software to manage and prioritize that data, and then to feed into the data-driven Tree Master Plan that I'll focus on for our presentation. And so this bottom-up sample inventory was conducted by ISA certified arborists, and it provided insights into the composition, what types of trees are out there, the structure, what ages and size classes are they, the condition, are there ways to remediate trees that are failing in condition and bring them to a better condition, and the needs of public trees across Norwalk, you know, the maintenance needs, clearance, removing hanging branches or removing dead or broken branches, things like that. And this is conducted to inform maintenance and planting strategies in the Tree Master Plan. And so then we also take a look at the top-down canopy cover, again, across public and private land. And we examine that canopy cover as well as opportunities for adding more trees. And through that assessment, we found that 43% of Norwalk is shaded by tree canopy when viewed from above. And that equates to about 6,200 acres or about 10 square miles of canopy cover. But this study also compared this canopy cover to 2012 measures. And when canopy cover in 2012 was at 49%, this shows that there was a decrease of 6% over that 9-year period, or about 790 acres of canopy loss. So it's really important that we have this long-term vision for trees in Norwalk to stem the loss and to redress maybe past practices to sustain canopy levels and to reach that canopy goal. And so importantly, this did not operate in a silo. As it was mentioned, we met with a variety and a number of staff across departments and also stakeholders. And before getting into that, we really did a research deep dive into the existing plans, studies, and policies that may impact or affect trees in Norwalk. And so this helped us to align efforts, balance priorities, support city goals that are already established, along with policies and initiatives, as well as enhance efficiency, foster collaboration among teams and departments, and reduce conflicts. And so this slide just highlights a selection of some of the over 30 resources that we reviewed in our planning process. And so to build on this effort of aligning city priorities and policies, key city departments, programs, and committees were organized into groups, and we interviewed them last year. And so in these sessions, attendees were asked to share their roles as it relates to trees in Norwalk, what they view as strengths or working well, where the challenges or gaps exist, and what they view as success or desired outcomes of a master planning project. And so this ensured that the plan strategies and actions align with current structures and programs, but it also lays the groundwork for us to recommend incremental changes to programs and structures over time. And so once the planning process was completed, we culminated all of our findings into the draft Tree Master Plan and held workshops with internal stakeholders and the general public just last month in March. And this enabled us to gather additional feedback on the draft plan and the planting strategy. And we understand that engagement and participation in this effort is crucial for the success of Norwalk's urban forest and this tree master plan. And so just looking at what the public shared during this workshop, we saw a need, and they emphasized the need to maintain existing trees as well as the new trees that are planted towards the canopy goal. The public also shared and emphasized the need to ramp up public education in order to improve tree planting best practices and ongoing maintenance. And like the internal stakeholders, we saw that the public wants to see innovative and collaborative planting strategies, improved education around tree care, funding for trees towards this canopy goal, robust but fair tree regulations, the staffing to support a growing urban forest and the challenges that face trees, and then strengthening public-private partnerships. And so through this process of getting feedback on the draft plan, we then were able to shape this tree master plan through the data, the research, and community input so that we can develop a roadmap for a sustainable urban forest. And as it was mentioned, this plan aims for a 10% increase in canopy cover over 30 years. And this goal requires commitments from the city, its partners and stakeholders, and the general public, the community at large. And to support this role in a shared commitment towards increasing canopy cover, we identified areas for planting and prioritized those by neighborhoods. And here's just one example of a priority neighborhood for South Norwalk, where it's a priority 1 neighborhood. And what we found is that an achievable goal for that neighborhood is to increase from 6% to 14%, which requires a little over 100 trees per year over a 10-year time span. And so that would support the citywide goal of 53% by 2053. So in addition to the planting strategy, the tree master plan provides strategies for proactive public tree maintenance, a robust urban forest management strategy, including data collection and management, pest and disease management, tree risk mitigation, storm preparedness planning, and wood waste utilization. And this plan also guides tree species selection for climate resilience and to reduce conflicts in the future, such as uplifted sidewalks or interference with wires. And also the strategies in the plan include a coordinated community outreach, education, and engagement campaign. And lastly, the plan strategies are supported by priority actions that are organized by timeframes. So the immediate actions include the planting strategy, public tree inventory, and program structure. And these are paraphrased for presentation and just calling out some of the key ones. When we look at the short-term actions, this includes expanding the tree planting program, integrating trees into stormwater management, and building capacity. Midterm actions enhance programs, services, and funding. And the longer-term actions focus on final steps to achieve the plan's goals and to set in motion things for development over time and updating the plan as changes to the resource occur. So that concludes my brief presentation. I shared the project components, including the canopy assessment, the sample inventory, and the stakeholder engagement to develop the plan and to get feedback on the draft plan. And then I just touched on a few of the key strategies relating to planting and management and touched on the priority actions that will guide implementation. So at this point, I just want to thank again the city for its support to develop this important plan for Norwalk's trees. And this plan is a plan that is supported by staff, stakeholders, and the community. And from my experience, I just want to say that I really, truly had a pleasure working with you all on this important project and just happy to bring this forward for your consideration this evening. And want to thank you for your time. And I'll turn it over for any additional comments and then the next steps. Thank you.
Ms. Young?
Any next steps? Any comments or
Questions or comments? Mr. Burnett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this is a terrible joke, but money doesn't grow on trees. But my question is, are there financials associated with this plan? I didn't see any, I didn't see anything in the backup. So what is the financial expectation in the council approving this master plan?
Well, our strategic plan is to do this much in the way we've done the park master plan, and that is through capital, a lot through capital, but also through partnerships. But it's not going to be sustained, this urban forest, the maintenance of urban forest and growing it has to be sustained through having partnerships with private conservation entities like the Land Trust and like others like that. But the biggest thing that is going to make it more effective is volunteerism. These things do not, all the cities that have been successful in this have been able to develop a real comprehensive network of volunteers. And that is, we're going to come to the council for money, but even with the money, we just don't have the labor resources to sustain this without volunteers. And where I come from in Seattle, we've developed what we call Green Partnership. And so it's an elaborate network of volunteers that have been trained and instructed by professional conservation groups. And one of the things that we've done is to apply for grants. And we have a grant right now, federal grant. We don't know if it's going to continue, but so far we've got the green light to continue on it. And one of the things in this grant calls for is to develop a consultant network that will raise volunteers and also supervise volunteers. So that's how we've been approaching it. But I'll have Sarah continue.
Chris, I feel like you might be able to kind of fill in what I missed, but so in section 4 in the tree planting strategy that Planet Geo put together. So there are a couple of different assumptions about how we get to that canopy goal. How many trees, how large are those trees, who's planting and who's paying for them. And so we worked with the consultant to decide on different planting strategies that would actually realistically work for us. We can't plant 100% of all the trees we need to plant through city funds. It's just not, it'd be millions of dollars. And so we broke that out into the city taking on 70% of that responsibility. And if we were just doing that through our like tree planting contracts, not by saving money with you getting the community involved or doing plantings in-house, having other staff that could help with that, it would cost about $900,000 per year to do that just by contract. And then we assumed that 30% of tree planting could be done by either private development, planning and zoning requirements, and just homeowners, community organizations, other folks in the community who don't have their hands tied in terms of what they can plant, where they can plant, and the financial burden necessarily that we do. So, yeah.
Can I weigh in a little bit on that, Sarah, with a different hat? So I'm putting on my Norwalk Land Trust hat. Just even today, we were in the community with the Norwalk River Watershed Association down at our Meadow Street project, and we're working with some of, well, actually the LaJoys. We met with LaJoys today to talk a little bit about how we could, work with them doing the work that they need to do for planning and zoning application across the street from our group. But we're really blessed in Norwalk to have 3 or 4 organizations absolutely dedicated to trees. Of course, we have the Norwalk Tree Alliance, who are super dedicated, have funds of their own, and are always looking for places to put trees. And the Norwalk River Watershed Association and Land Trust, we have been, I think over the last 4 to 5 years, I think we've raised something like $400,000 to add trees to everywhere from Woodward Park to Oyster Shell Park and now in Meadow Street to have that. So we really are very lucky in Norwalk that we have the volunteers who are tree huggers and absolutely dedicated to trees. And of course, is there a better day to celebrate this tree master plan than Earth Day? So thank you so much for that. And we do have great volunteers who are absolutely dedicated to this, and we're constantly looking for funds. So I feel like we can really do that 30%. We can beat that.
Yeah, and I can say that since I've started, we were working off of ARPA funding and the MLK corridor project. We've been able to plant 500 trees in a single year in 2023. We got close in 2024. So if our planting goal per year that the city's leading is between 1,000 and 1,100, we can get there, but we just have to kind of get creative about how we're doing so, if that makes sense.
Further comments, questions? Mr. I'm sorry, Mr. Wilson.
So first of all, thank you so much for all the work you've done to bring this here. I think it is obviously no surprise that we are doing this on Earth Day. And I think it's important to recognize that a lot of times we'll say something, or you've said, and I think you've said it correctly, that, you know, that planting trees, and especially in our urban core, is an equity issue. And I don't want people to think that this is just like political jargon bingo. There is, as shown in this plan, a legitimate difference in people's lived experiences in neighborhoods that have trees and neighborhoods that don't have trees. And you can see that neighborhoods are hotter. I know relatively recently, I remember I was knocking doors in South Norwalk and it was hot. And I remember it was a brutal day that would have been made a little better had there been more trees available, not only for the ecological benefits, but also it's just a very different lived experience. And so when we're talking about equity, when it comes to tree planting, what we're really talking about is making sure that everyone has the equal opportunity to live in a place that is beautiful and environmentally safe and friendly. And if that isn't a goal that everyone can get behind, then I don't really know what is. And so I think that this plan, I think, gets us to a place where, frankly, and look, I'm a little competitive. I think everyone knows that. To be honest, I'm a little PO'd that Stanford's at 50% and we're at 39%. And like, we should be ahead of those guys. And we can be. And I think that this plan is a really prospective and in-depth look and really worth reading for all of you out there who are listening. Because I think that this is a way of us showing that we are walking the walk when we talk about that we want to be the greenest city. We're not just kidding around. And so I enthusiastically support this plan, and I really appreciate all the work you have done. And obviously, there's a lot more to come. So
Just can I make one more comment, Mr.
Sure.
Mayor? I mean, these types of plans also help those of us who are looking for grants, because this is the roadmap and it shows that the city is dedicated to this work. And that this will be something that we'll use as an exhibit for the grants that we're going to be applying for as the Norwalk Land Trust, Norwalk River Watershed, Norwalk Tree Association. So it's really super important to have done this work. And thank you, Mayor, for supporting this. You know, 5 or 6 years ago, we had a little bit of a different story about trees in the city, but with the hard work that you guys have put in, you know, we really are moving to be the greenest city, and the commitment to trees in Norwalk is heartwarming. So thank you for all of your hard work. We're very excited and thankful and grateful. Thank you.
Mr. Joseph.
I just wanted to briefly add my thanks, but also to just emphasize one other point that I think has not yet come up, which is the ways in which this is also the kind of investment that has large returns over time, particularly in terms of flood control and stormwater management, which is an issue that we talk about incessantly, because unfortunately it is an issue that is going to be impacting the city more and more. And I think I really particularly appreciated the thoughtful and realistic look, you know, neighborhood by neighborhood about where we really could plant trees, so that this is not a sort of pie in the sky. This is a very concrete, this is actually achievable. This is where, you know, where it would be, this is how it would look. And particularly for neighborhoods like South Norwalk, where the flooding risk is high, to have, you know, some natural absorption, I think will really pay dividends in the long run. So I'm very grateful that we are thinking about how we can invest strategically for the future. And I'm looking forward to seeing the results.
Ms. Young, I'm sorry, Mr. Seed.
Yeah, and I completely support this. But I think to Councilman Burnett's point, money doesn't grow on trees. And I think that it's important for us as a city to look for grants and other funding opportunities so that the burden doesn't go on the taxpayers, especially in this time where the taxpayers are burdened. So we definitely want to be the greenest city, but we also want the people who grew up here to be able to still reap those benefits when we're adding the trees. So don't want to be a Debbie Downer, But I definitely want to make sure that we're thinking fiscally responsible, so that we're not burdening it and making the city green, but also pushing it out for people who don't have enough green to live here. That's just my point, but again, I really support this plan, but I think that we just have to get creative in ways to pay for this so that we can get this going, because we don't want to raise the prices too much.
Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to add a few comments. I would like to very much thank the team, Mr. Stowers, Planet Geo, Sarah, Recreation and Parks Committee, because just, because there are concerns, right, about how, how we can pay for this. And I appreciate the focus on the volunteerism and grants, and we really, really have to, keep focused on that so that we can afford to do this. And it really is a thoughtful plan, and planting trees is better for the environment. It's better for our physical and mental health. And it makes us a more sustainable and equitable city. And so we just all have to work together to make this happen.
Thank you. Further comments or discussion? Ms. Dunn.
I'm usually about the financial things, so I bring that up. One of the really interesting studies that I've read recently is that trees and open space actually, one in the center, actually increases the property values of all the homes about it. So financially, if we're trying to build our grand list, planting more trees is going to help. It's going to raise the grand list money. So that's one thing. It will also cut down on our expenses. I know the health department, we look at childhood diseases, especially like asthma and things like that. It does help with that too. So it will cost us less to make sure that our people are healthy in the city as well. So financially, I think it's a really good move for us.
Further comment or discussion?
So, thank you. So I just want to say, I think someone said it, Ms. Shanahan, about 6 years we've been talking about this issue. And I think, Mr. Stowers, you've been here about that length of time. And so what I'm really trying to get at is I think this is probably one of the most crucial and important positions that we made sure we had someone in. And because of your leadership, Mr. Stowers, we have Ms. Cruz. And I have to say that within the short period of time that you have been here, you have done a yeoman's work. And I'm very, very pleased to just be a part of what it is that you are bringing to the city. I think we are going to have to be creative in how we make sure that we implement this, but I have no doubt that we will be able to do that and actually keep in mind about the financial burden on the city. And so I just commend you, Mr. Stowers, and your choosing of Miss Sarah Cruz and bringing her here to the city of Norwalk. Because as my fellow council members have said, trees are important and crucial to communities. I wish we knew that before and we wouldn't have cut them all down, but but that's the reality. That's the reality we live in, but we have a living document to guide us through this process for the next 40 or 50 years. And so I'm appreciative to the work of the committee of Recreation and Parks. And I just have to point you out again, Ms. Shanahan, to your commitment to this. I mean, it's converting people too, right? To really understand about the importance of trees, right? And I think when you live in a community that's depleted from that, you get used to that, right? And as been stated, once you implement and we put in trees, we know the beauty that it brings and the health that it brings to a community and the wealth that it brings to the community. And so, again, this will not be a document that sits on the shelf. And so I'm appreciative of that as a city. I think we all need to give ourselves a round of applause because we have actually done it.
Further comments or discussion? Before I call the vote, I'd like to make a comment. I'm glad that Mr. Goldstein and others mentioned equity. Because if you look at the city, the deficit is usually in the area where we need it most. Provide health for all of our residents. Trees do so much more than people realize. And The expense, it's gonna be there, but the return on investment will be significant. And I really appreciate all the work that you've done, the work that the council has done, the Parks and Recreation Committee. And it's critically important, and I hope that in 2053, when you're all getting ready to vote on the final that you realize that the work you've done here tonight and over the past couple of weeks has provided rewards far beyond what we could expect. So in 2023, I expect you all to just say thank you to what has been done. And with that, I want to again thank Mr. Stowers, thank the tree committee for what they've done here. And I will now call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. And now,
Motion to adjourn.
Ms. Shanahan makes a motion to adjourn. What a surprise.
Well, thank you,
all in
guys.
favor?
Thank the committee for supporting us. Thank you very much.
All in favor of the motion to adjourn? Opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned at 8:31. Thank you all.